Hey, everybody. How are you today? We are about to get started with our Facebook Live, and I am Melissa Hailey. I'm coming to you today from Zoom on Facebook because we're going to chat about an important topic that I'm super passionate about. It's not just about real estate education, although that is a big deal. It's specifically about the GRI program. So today, while I'm waiting for everybody to jump in our little webinar here, I'd like to introduce everybody. First, I'd like to introduce Jon Houser. Jon is the Associate Director of Professional Development at Texas Realtors. So welcome, Jon.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. We are super excited you are here. I also have Stephen Etzel with us today, and Stephen is not only a real estate broker, he is an instructor. He is the owner of Stephen Etzel Real Estate Consulting. So welcome, Stephen. I'm so glad you were able to join us today too.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Awesome. All right. So for those of you who are just getting logged in, you have really great timing. We're just about to start. And today we're talking about the GRI Real Estate Education Program. So as we're starting, I think it's important for everybody to understand who we have on here. I know I said what they do, but I think it's important to get to know each of you a little bit better, guys, before we get started. So Stephen, do you mind telling everybody a little bit about you and why education's important to you, or GRI, or just talk a little bit about what you do and why you're qualified to talk about this stuff today?
All right. Well, my name's Steve Etzel. I've been in real estate doing going on about 30 plus years. And I own 3 different real estate companies, one in Oklahoma, 2 in Texas. I'm not only a real estate broker, but I'm also in mortgage. I'm a national mortgage company for commercial, and also a residential mortgage company. And education is a huge deal. When I first started out in real estate 30 plus years ago, we didn't have this opportunity to have the education that we have today. And it wasn't until I was probably 2 or 3 years in, I wish we did have the education. And now that we have such abundance of it, there is no real reason for us not to take advantage of it. And GRI was one of the first things that I took advantage of back 25 years ago, I think it was, when it first came out. And when it first came out, it was 100+ hours. We had to go all over we actually had to go to other states to find the education. It was a mess. It was expensive. I think it cost us $4,000 to get the designation. So now that it's very easily to find, we can go into one spot. The GRI program is probably I believe, the foundation for all the education going forward.
I love that. And I know you got into real estate when you were like 5 years old, because you're not
18.
that old.
No, I took my first real estate class at 16 and got into real estate at 18. So I was very
Did
fortunate.
you really? Wow. That's awesome. You knew what you wanted to do, and that's important.
Absolutely.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thanks for telling us a little bit about you. So Jon, how about you? Tell us a little bit about you and how did you land where you are and what you're doing and all the things with GRI and Texas Realtors?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, thanks for inviting me to be able to participate in this conversation today. So my name is Jon Houser. I've actually worked at Texas Realtors for this December will be 17 years. I stumbled into it, to be honest with you. I knew nothing about real estate, or I just knew I was very passionate about education. Every single person in my family, immediate and extended, is involved in education in some capacity. And I realized that me and kids get along great. I don't know about learning and me being able to teach them, but I was passionate about education. And so I said, you know what, let's not worry about public education. Let's focus more on another avenue. So I stumbled into real estate education. So with working at Texas Realtors in the professional development department, we have a number of different education opportunities and platforms. The most pivotal, as you mentioned, is a GRI. That's the one that's the most important in our opinion, and it's probably the most prominent of all the education opportunities that we have. And so we're proud of it. We're excited to be able to talk about it, and I'm excited other people are excited about it as well.
Yeah, well, we're lucky that you stumbled into real estate. That's all I'm saying. So we are super glad you're here. And I love it that both of you guys mentioned, GRI is such an integral part. It's such an important part of the education process for real estate professionals, because, that pre-licensing stuff that you take before you get a real estate license is so much information that may or may not really make sense until you've done it. And so getting in there and getting that GRI, I think, is so important. So let's start chatting specifically about GRI for a minute. I've got a couple of questions that I want to ask you guys. And so the first thing I think first thing I think let's ask, because somebody might be watching and they're newer to real estate, or they're not really sure, but they keep hearing this 3-letter thing, GRI, and they may just be wondering, what does GRI even stand for? And by the way, why would anybody want to do this? So Jon, I'm going to let you start. What does GRI even stand for?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, think about how many acronyms we have out there in real estate, and we throw them out there as if everybody knows what we're talking about. And so sometimes it's good to actually say what the acronyms are.
Right.
So GRI actually just simply stands for Graduate of Realtor Institute. And so it is a nationally accredited designation that is actually governed by each state. So you can actually earn the GRI in Texas, and it might look a little different than Oklahoma or another state, as the case may be. So we're allowed and have benchmarks that we are able to customize to make it Texas specific for Texas agents. So whenever they get their license and they're trying to get into the business, we can make sure that they have the tools and resources that are important to Texans, as opposed to worrying about the rest of the state. So Graduate Realtor Institute.
Graduate Realtor Institute. I love that. So, now that we know what it stands for, okay, so the next question is, as my camera totally went everywhere. So the next question is, why would anybody be interested in getting one? I am so sorry. Here I am on Facebook Live going crazy with my camera. Y'all, it was on here earlier and I look just like, I'm trying to figure my internet out. Jon, you gave us good info. GRI, Graduate Realtor Institute. Stephen, why does anybody want one? Why does anybody need it?
GRI, to me, GRI is probably the most important designation you can get. Number one, it's a foundation, and it can also build to other designations. But another reason is it's kind of twofold. If you're beginning, for your first year renewal, it takes care of your 90 hours for continuing education. But I've been teaching GRI. Ironically, I've known Jon ever since he started at TR, I believe, 17, 18 years ago or so. And, we've taught thousands and thousands of students, and it doesn't matter what area you are in real estate. It doesn't matter how long you've been in real estate. There's always something to learn. Yeah. And the good thing about the GRI classes are you not only learn from us instructors, I learn from you, and you learn from one another as well. And it's just a really good course that you can take. Yeah, it is 90 hours, but the 90 hours is more, I would say, on hands. And it also teaches you in workshops of what to do and sometimes what not to do. So it can definitely hone in your skills, and it can definitely help you take things back to your office possibly and help fellow agents grow as well.
Yeah, I agree. You can always learn from everybody else that's in the room. And sometimes, I love it that you said that. Sometimes you learn what to do and sometimes you learn
what not to do.
Super important part of the process for sure. Well, so now we know what GRI stands for, Graduate Realtor Institute. And we kind of have some idea about why you might want it. Let's talk just a minute about what are the topics that somebody learns about? And you know what, Stephen, I'll let you go first this time, but what are some of the topics? Because you teach GRI all the time, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So name off a few things. What am I going to learn if I take GRI?
One of the most probably popular one is marketing, especially when you first get out into the field. A lot of times, your first 1, 2, 3 years in real estate, it's kind of hard to get yourself going. And so the marketing portion really helps out. They have a technology portion that helps you build your websites, helps you build websites, helps you do SEOs. Also gives you an idea how to work with buyers and sellers properly, how to fill out listing agreements, how to fill out buyer reps, how to prospect for different sellers, how to prospect for different buyers, different areas of where you can go to find these different buyers and sellers. Another thing we find out about is contracts, which is very important. And no matter what level you're at in real estate, they seem to really love the contract portion because it teaches you how to fill out properly. And a lot of the forms that are actually in the course, some people have never seen before. I was teaching the class the other day. I had an agent in the class that's been in the field for 8 years and never saw one of the forms that we were showing them. So that also helps them grow as well. And if you're wide open for learning, you're definitely going to learn in this class. Another thing you learn is broker responsibilities. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I'm a firm believer in. As a broker, our agent should know broker responsibility the same way I do it, because that's risk management. And so that's very encouraging to know that there's a course out there that's not specifically just for brokers, but anybody can take, and it makes them a lot better quality at what they're doing, and also understand the process of what brokers have to do for their risk management purposes as well. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, helps them just understand the why behind what you're telling them.
Absolutely. And a lot of times as a broker, I mean, I could sit here and talk and talk and talk. I need this paperwork. I need this paperwork. I need this paperwork. But a lot of times, unless you know why, sometimes they don't want to follow the bouncing ball. And so having a class that's available to learn that and to learn what everybody's going through and to help their other and sphere of influence can definitely make our business grow as well.
Yeah, makes everybody, it makes it all go around. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So John, he hit on a whole bunch of stuff. Are there any other topics that you're like, he got a bunch of good ones, but here's some other things that are covered in GRI?
No, Stephen's really good at stealing my thunder. And so he's great at covering all the topics that are in there. But I do want to share a couple of quick stories about the value of the GRI, if I can.
Yeah.
It's so interesting enough, we just did a survey to all GRI designees and just said, what do you think about this now? A month, 2 years, many years after you've earned the GRI. What do you think about it? There's two major things that came back from that survey. Number one, we had asked them, what are you doing now? And literally, there are people from all walks of life in the real estate industry, from commercial to farm and ranch to residential to industrial to you name it, everything out there. It was amazing, just where GRI became a foundation, and then they went to everywhere in real estate. 94% of them came back and said, we still find value in the information that we learn in the GRI designation, even if it's years and years and years later. And so going back to the why, people who have taken it, they say and claim and believe and still promote the fact that the GRI was one of the best things that they had ever done. I'll tell you another story, and it's a personal story on this one. I was in a class and there was an actual broker in the class. And of course I was interested. Why is the broker taking this course? Because they don't need the education as far as the number of hours. They've already earned their broker's license. And so they don't need hundreds of hours to be able to get it. And so I asked, why are you in the class? And they said, well, I'm a firm believer that if I'm going to encourage my agents to take something, I should know what they're taking. And I should hear what they've done. And they said, I wish that I had taken this class or these classes 25 years ago. It would have saved me so much heartache, so much time, and so much money if I had started with this as a foundation until I waited till after I got my broker's license and had an agent encourage me to come with them to take it. And so to me, that's where the value comes in. One, the people who have it have claimed and believed that it still would be very valuable to them. But then number two, the people who are taking it even now for the first time, they're saying, I wish I had this sooner.
Yeah,
I agree with John. I've had many people say that before, like, hey, I had somebody in the class 30 years in the business, 30 years in the business came in, and exactly what John just said. I wish I would have took this, 5-10 years ago. That would have helped out a lot of heartaches and headaches they've already gone through.
yeah.
So it's a good thing.
I agree. And what else I think, as you guys are talking about these stories too, and you said, I was teaching contracts, and you said I ran across somebody who had been in the business, I think you said 8 years, but they'd never seen a particular contract document. I think things change so much in real estate. I mean, gosh, over the last few years, our contracts have changed so many times that if you're a newer agent, you don't know what you don't know. But if you're an experienced agent, you may still not know what's going on because things are changing so often.
That's right. And staying current is key. And, of course, in the GRI, everything's current. So, a lot of times they go in. I had one person one day I was teaching a contract class. They didn't know what the updated contract was.
Oh, yeah.
And so I looked at him and said, good thing you're here. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
On the flip side, that makes you feel like you either go, oh, or good thing you're here kind of thing. But the good thing about it was they went out and they were telling their office the same thing. Next thing you know, guess who signed up for the next GRI class?
Yeah, their whole
office. So that was a good thing.
Exactly. Well, I actually love it that you just brought that up. You said we're changing it all the time. It's current. John, how often do we update the GRI curriculum?
It's kind of like the Golden Gate Bridge. It's never done. And so it is something that is concurrent. It's always updated. At least every 3 months, there's a rollout of some capacity. I mean, think about how oftentimes the contracts change, and their contracts all throughout every single one of our GRI classes. And so there's 3 of them total. As Stephen had mentioned, there's one on contracts, there's one on marketing, and there's one on broker responsibility, or the brokerage and business development of a real estate brokerage. And all three of those are integral as far as the contracts are concerned. They're all throughout all of those documents. Not to mention industry trends. Things change. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Zoom wasn't very popular until COVID hit, and then all of a sudden it became very popular. That happens in real estate all the time. There's something that wasn't a big deal, and all of a sudden it's a huge deal. And because the industry changes so quickly, the content has to stay current with the industry. And so every 3 months at least, there's an update to make sure that whatever we're teaching or whatever Stephen's teaching is something that is valid and relevant to them right then and there.
Yeah.
Can I also add to that?
Yeah, sure.
I'm also going to give props to the GRI instructors, every one of them, for staying current.
Yeah.
I mean, we really, as a GRI instructor, as an instructor in general, to be good at what you do, you got to stay current with what's going on, and they do a great job at it. You know, sometimes something will change or something out in the field will change or whatever the situation is. And the instructors alone spend many, many hours on to give good information as well. So,
yeah. You know, say that again?
I would piggyback off that too, Melissa and Stephen, especially, and all other GRI instructors. You guys are amazing because the content is only as good as the person delivering it. And so if you guys don't know what you're talking about, you don't know to highlight or pinpoint specific things that might be in the content or something that just happened the day before. And so thank you guys for being on top of it to make sure that you guys are giving the correct information and timely information to the agents that are in the class.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I'm getting ready to teach something, like it's a big class, like a GRI, any of my classes, but especially a GRI, I usually spend hours and hours and hours the week or so leading up to it, just double checking, are all the page numbers right? I mean, even that kind of stuff, much less what's new material, what has changed, what about this other thing. There's just a lot of prep that goes into it from the instructor side, for sure. You got to be on your game.
And as an instructor, I feel, because you're probably looking at 75% of the students in a GRI class are probably 1 to 3, maybe 4 years in the business.
Right.
We go back to the word foundation, and you want to give them the good foundation to grow a good growing business the right, correct way. So you definitely want to spend more time to make sure they're getting that good information to go out into the field and protect our consumers.
Yeah. I 1000% agree, because it is about the realtor and them, having a successful business. But you said it's about the consumer being protected, that we know what we're doing when we're guiding them through this complicated real estate transaction.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, so let's kind of answer another question that I think somebody might be asking if they were thinking about, well, maybe this GRI sounds good. There's a lot of topics in here. It sounds like it's good foundation, kind of like what you said, to build their business on. If I was a realtor who was brand new and I was thinking about getting this GRI, designation, how long does it take to get the GRI designation? What does that entail for me as an agent? And either one of you guys, feel free to answer that.
Go ahead, John.
Sure, give me the hard ones. No, this isn't hard at all. So the GRI is really simple. There are 3 classes. Each class is 4 days in length. It's a qualifying education course, so they're 30-hour courses. You can take them as fast as you want. The nice thing is with the GRI program, because it is state specific, you can take it through any local realtor association. It doesn't always have to be your own, so you can jump from one to another to go as fast or as slow as you need to, looking at a schedule that makes most sense to you. Most of the classes are offered during normal business hours of around 8:30 to 5. There are some nights and weekends that I've seen. There's some spread out 1 day a week for 4 weeks. They could be 4 days straight. They're all over the place. And so you can look out there through each of the local realtor associations to see what options are out there. But 12 days in totality. Now, however quickly you want to take those days is up to you. But it's a 12-day program.
Okay, very cool. So I guess my question for you then, Stephen, talking about all that is, what would you recommend to somebody? Would you tell them take all 12 days, just compact it in? Or would you be like, you know what? No, I think, take a little bit, take some time, take a little bit, because there's so much to digest, right?
Well, what seems to work the most is 2 days a week. So like they'll more likely, most associations will split it out like a Tuesday and Wednesday, then they'll take the week, then Tuesday and Wednesday the following week, and then they'll take a week off, then 2 days, and then 2 days. There is a lot of information being thrown at you. It's like I tell students all the time, it's like drinking out of a fire hose sometimes. And there is a test at the end of the course too. So there is a lot of things you got to absorb. But if you can pace yourself, and that seems to be the best way to do it. But again, every student learns differently. And so, but in my mind, all the information that's being thrown at you, sometimes people don't absorb it all at once. It's kind of interesting because like the first 2 days, I'll ask everybody on the following week, hey, did everybody know what we're talking about last week? I mean, they're still looking around the room like, what just happened? And then there's some people that say, hell yeah, I had a question. I was like, see, now it's starting to absorb because they have time to study it as well. And so I'm a firm believer, if you're going to take a course, especially an intense course that's going to give you a lot of information, you need time to absorb it. It's like a college level course.
Yeah.
And if you're going to take a college level course, we do it in a semester. You're doing it in 4 days.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of information that needs to be absorbed. And of course, you always have that book to look back on, but you don't always have that instructor, or you don't always have the people or sphere around you to ask questions to make it more clear.
Yeah.
And so pacing yourself, to me, works out better. And I believe most students believe that as well.
I think so too. And I love it that you mentioned, some people are like, I don't know what we talked about last week. Heck, I don't remember what I ate for breakfast, right? Like,
right.
And
plus they're doing business too. You got business going on, you got family life going on, you got this going on, you got this going on. We'll go over like a listening agreement. I'll say, does anybody have any question? Anybody know what we were talking about last week? Something about a seller. Okay, we're almost there. You see what I mean? So let's go ahead and review what we were talking about and see if we got any questions before we move on to the next section.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that, we just forget, all that stuff if it doesn't absorb in, and it's so much because it is college level. It's intense, deep dive in each one of the topics for sure. All right. Well, so how about this? So if I'm a realtor who is thinking about getting that GRI, I know that you said, I think it was Stephen that said, most agents are like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 years in the business, but not necessarily, you don't have to be a new agent to take it, right? I think anybody can take it at any time, but maybe why should somebody think about taking it earlier rather than waiting until later in their career? What's the benefit?
I'll jump on that one. To me, there's a direct tangible benefit. Once you complete your real estate license, you have to complete 90 hours of continuing or qualifying education to renew your license. Why not earn a designation in the process of renewing your license, especially one that's prioritizing the foundation of how you can continue in your business, regardless of what direction you want to take. To me, that's kind of common sense to take the opportunity to lay that foundation to complete your qualifying education within your first 2 years of licensure. That just makes a lot of sense to me. If you don't have the time or bandwidth, I suppose that's understandable, but you're going to have to take 90 hours anyway.
Yeah, might as well take some good stuff while you're at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm going to piggyback off that too, because a lot of people, they take online classes to get their license. And it's like I tell people all the time, it's because you have a license doesn't mean you know. I can't. I can't tell you how many times.
Yeah, the longer you're in real estate, the more true that becomes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I was just trying to say that bellowly. But there's a lot of times where you take a license and we go through a lot of education, 180 hours worth of education in the beginning. But here's the thing: how do you implement it? Yeah. That's the problem. I mean, you're getting all this information, you're downloading onto a test, and next thing you know, you forget half of what you learned anyway. And so, how do I implement what I just learned? And a lot of times GRI, people come to me after class and go, oh my gosh, it's finally tying together. I can't tell you how many times I've taught joint tenancy in a GRI class, which isn't even really in a GRI class, by the way. But I was actually teaching a contract class. Somebody goes, well, what's the difference between joint tenancy and tenancy in common? Well, they just got out of real estate school. We should know this. It's on a test. You see what I mean? But just because it's on a test doesn't mean you understand concept. And so understanding concept is what GRI is all about. I mean, just because you have a license doesn't mean you understand concept, nor do you know what you're doing. And the other thing is, a lot of people that just get licensed, they don't even know what they expect. They get this, they probably saw it on an infomercial or something, get your real estate license, make $1 million in a year or whatever it is. They don't understand. It takes a hard work to be in real estate. Mm-hmm. What does it take blood, sweat, and tears. That's what it takes, everybody. And on top of that, they're seeing people in the room going through the same scenarios they are. I remember when I first got my license, like I said, I was 18, and I was pretty young. My elevator went about halfway up, but I thought I was going to be a millionaire in about 4 days too, right? I was delusional, just like everybody else is. And you get discouraged. You're sending out all these mailers, you're trying to do everything humanly possible. Back in our day, we didn't have like the MLS we had now. We didn't have all the opportunity we had for marketing, but we did everything we possibly could. And you're not getting results, and you're feeling down and out. Well, when you're down with people and you're with people to inspire you, to say, hey, we're going through the same thing. We understand what you're doing out here. What you're doing is right. Eventually, the seed that you're planting, you're going to be successful. And you hear somebody that say, hey, I just got in real estate last year. This is my second GRI class. And what I learned in the first GRI class of marketing is actually prospecting, is actually being, I'm actually getting traction off of it, and I'm starting to make a living out of it. And the blood, sweat, and tears, that instructor is absolutely 100% right. We've all been here. We're here for you. And I feel like they feel like they're part of a group all of a sudden, and they also stick together. It's kind of interesting on the GRI classes, they all do. It's kind of like being in a college fraternity. You know what I mean? It's like this GRI class come together as one. The next thing you know, they start a Facebook on it or something like that. But it's, they're talking 5-6 years later. Remember when we were in that GRI class? And so it's really actually kind of cool. It starts a partnership in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
It starts an encouragement. People help one another, and they can actually see the benefits of where we're going in this business. It's a win-win.
Yeah. And they are not alone.
No.
Someone else has the same struggle that they're having, and
Absolutely.
they thought it was just them. Like, what am I doing wrong? And it's not.
Then when you see an instructor of this goes, I was like 18 when I got in that business, and let me tell you, I failed. You know what I mean? I'm an instructor. I failed, totally failed. I've done everything that you've done, and I can come to tell you that's not probably the right thing to do. You know what I mean? So you're learning from experience is what that's all about, and people appreciate that stuff because nobody likes to waste time. They like to go forward, of course, and they like to hear other people. They don't like to hear somebody up there that, especially an instructor that's, up here and they own a building down in downtown Fort Worth. They don't want to hear about that kind of stuff. They want to hear the hard knocks that people are going through. They want to understand that they're going to be going through some, but there is light at the end of the rainbow. That's what GRI is all about right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Humbled.
Yeah. Somebody shared a quote with me. I think it was this morning. It might've been yesterday. Literally, it was just within the last 24 hours. And they said, failure is not the opposite of success.
Oh.
Failure is a part of success. And that's kind of what you're talking about, is that they're seeing each other, they're seeing the instructor, and they're talking to each other, and they're learning that it's not that everybody has to go through this, this potential, like you said, maybe I failed on this thing, but now look what's happened. Now I've come out of it on the other side.
It's like I tell every single solitary class, we all work for different brokers, but we're all on the same team.
Right. Yeah.
We're all going to get to the finish line. I promise you. You just got to hang in there and keep on growing.
There you go. Well, so I'm going to circle back to something Jon said a minute ago, because he said when we were asking about, who takes it and they're young in the business, they're, a year, 2, 3, 4 years in the business. And he was talking about, in your first 2 years, why so many people might take GRI in the beginning is because it meets that SAE requirement from the Texas Real Estate Commission, right? You got to take 90 hours, might as well take some good stuff that's going to help you be a well-rounded realtor. But it sounds like from what this conversation is kind of talking about is that GRI is still a good idea for an agent who is more seasoned. Really and truly, it's good for everybody, whether you're new or not. You need to come and take GRI. Do you guys both just agree with that statement as a whole, that doesn't really matter where you're at in your journey, just go get your GRI because it's good information?
Well, that, and there's not a whole lot of SAEs available.
True. Jon?
Yeah. So, I definitely think that it's good, well-rounded information. Like I said a while ago, there was a broker who doesn't need qualifying education or SAE credit. He's already gotten his broker's license, but yet still wanted to go and get the good information, right? Not to mention the industry changes so often. I've seen plenty of people who've earned their GRI and come back and take classes again 2 or 3 years later, saying, I know there's some good stuff. Things have changed drastically, and I want to know about the changes. And so That happens quite frequently as well. Not to mention, if you're even applying towards a broker's license, like you had mentioned, Stephen, there's not that many SAE classes out there. You can go back and repeat them. And probably by the time you come back around to them, they're totally different content than they were 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh,
And the
yeah,
brokerage
definitely.
goes towards the broker too.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so, all right. So knowing that the education is good, that it's important, it's going to help us be well-rounded realtors. But we're also getting this designation, right? And I think if a newer agent was listening to this conversation, they might be thinking, well, who cares about a designation? Or, I keep hearing designation, certification. I don't even know what that means. Why would somebody as an agent want to have a designation or a certification of any kind? What good does that do them in their business? John, I'm going to let you go first on that one. And then I know Stephen will have good things to piggyback on that.
They're probably better than mine, which is why I get to start. I definitely think that anytime you can differentiate yourself, whether you promote any designation or certification you have or not, knowledge is power. The information you get and you learn and how you apply it is what's most important above all else. So whether you put the letters after your name or not, it's the fact that you are putting yourself in a higher level of expectation of how you're going to serve your clients. Really, at the end of the day, if you have that kind of a mindset, you're going to be successful because you care more about the people and how you're serving them than anything else. And that's what people notice when they become your clients. They know that you're a trusted resource. They know that you care. And you're not just hitting the minimum expectation of whatever is absolutely bare minimum required of you. I can say whenever I have purchased my property, I make it a point to go look at what the realtor has taken and see that they have a care about professionalism and they take more than the bare minimum and that they have content that's relevant in their classes. Now, granted, I grew up in education, so I do, probably think a little different than the average person, but I'll tell you that professionalism and that higher level of expectation is something that people are looking for. Now, if you want to put that name or designation or credential after your name, there's nothing wrong with that. But the most important thing is that you're helping identify and connecting the dots of what does that mean to your clients? And if you're able to show that either in your listing presentation or if you're talking to them about how you're going to be their buyer, what does that mean to them? And how that benefits and differentiates you compared to the other person out there. I mean, it's not a hard sell when you can say, I care about you enough that I want to take good education to make sure I know what I'm talking about, that I'm going to be the best representative of you going forward in this transaction. At the end of the day, that's what designations matter, that it's above the minimum expectation.
I agree. What do you think, Stephen? I know you got more to say about why should somebody have these 3 letters behind their last name?
Well, John did pretty much everything I was going to say, but I'll just add a couple more things. How about on real estate to real estate level? How about that? Licensee to licensee.
Sure.
If I'm going to refer somebody somewhere, me as a broker is probably going to see if they have some sort of designation.
Sure. Because
I look at it this way: if I'm going to refer somebody to even Tennessee, since it's a national designation, I'm going to look to see at least if they have a GRI. And then that's going to show that, hey, if I refer a client to them, they're in good hands.
Yeah.
So as a professional to professional, I like to see designations as well. And that's another reason why we get designations, because we can also network with one another. Sure. Kind of separate each other out from the other. Like I said, it's kind of GRIs like the foundation, because you can also use it for electives for other designations. So you can use it for like ABR or whatever other designation you want to build off of as well. And so for me, like he said, it just shows me that you've gone up and beyond, that you're also going to treat our clients right. Mm-hmm. And most importantly, treating the customer right. And you're also going to do the job right. So it makes us all look good. Let's put it that way.
I agree. Plus, there's NAR, the National Association of Realtors. Every so often they do those reports about, agents that have these designations or more designations make more money. And, who knows what the newest numbers are, but I don't know if all of that is contributed to the fact that it's good education, because that's what's important. But I think some of it too is those realtors that are taking GRI and getting this are committed to this as a profession, as their job. They don't just sell one house a year because they actually have another job doing something else. This is their profession. This is what they do for a living. So
I'm going to piggyback off it just a little bit, because like if I give you a designation, like I don't know, CCIM, half the people out there don't even know what that means. what are they, like 4 or 6% in the nation that even have it.
Mhm.
It's a commercial designation.
Right.
But I have noticed this, even when I go out to the public and I say I have a GRI, they actually know what it is.
Oh,
So that's a
good.
plus, because that means that we're getting somewhere. You know what I mean? Because when I first got my GRI, everybody's like, what is that? Even we're like, we're cool. You know, there's only like 600 of us in the nation, so nobody even knew what it was. So
Right.
since it's growing and growing and growing and growing, it's definitely setting a standard. That's
Yeah,
what's
and I think the more people that earn it, that talk about it, because I don't know about every realtor, but I'm going to say this, that if I go to all the trouble as a real estate professional to get the education and spend the time and really learn the information, then when I go and talk to a consumer and I'm talking to them about why they should hire me instead of the, other agent that they're interviewing, this is part of it. This is what sets me apart, is that I have that further education and I'm better equipped to serve that consumer and their best interest. And so the more we share that, the more, like you said, the public knows, the other realtors know, people actually know what that stands for, which I love.
I actually started incorporating my listing presentations.
Yeah.
You know, my buyer reps, or whatever designation can also help you during that listing presentation too. If you're doing farm and ranch, GRI could help, but you also might want to add another designation or whatever for your experience. But that's a great starting point to say, hey, look, this is the standard that you're dealing with, and we're just going up, not down.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered a lot of good stuff. I do have a couple of other things I want to quick ask. So we said a minute ago, and this is, somebody listening might be thinking, okay, this sounds great. I think I want to get started. We said a minute ago, there's 3 classes, right? That we have to take these 3 30-hour courses. Does it matter if we take them in any certain order? I'm going to kind of defer that to Jon, because he's, the one that's making sure all that happens. Do you have to take them in order, or how does that work?
No, the only requirement is that you do complete it within 5 years of starting it. That's the only requirement. And so you can take any of them in any order. So there's 3 of them. It just does matter when you start a specific class that you finish that class. That's important. But you do have to finish all 3 of them, and you can have up to 5 years to do it.
5 years seems like a really long time.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. Don't take 5 years.
I don't recommend that either. How about you, Stephen?
No.
No, take them all sooner rather than later, maybe in the first year or something, but yeah, gosh, 5 years. All right, Jon, and I have one more question that's kind of more directed at you. Although I do want to kind of dive a little deeper with Stephen on it. So if I'm ready to sign up and I'm a real estate professional, I know, Jon, you said earlier, you can take it at any local board of realtors. So is there a place maybe on the Texas Realtors website where I can go find any GRI?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to texasrealestate.com, under for members, you can go to education, and you can go to course search, and you can go to our find a course feature through that, and you can actually search for the group GRI, and in doing so, it'll pull up every GRI in the next 6 months. Unless you want to go farther than that, then you can choose that parameter as well. Or you need a specific class. You can also look for specific instructors. It's easier if you can say the word. That's a big word. I'm not used to that. I need more coffee. But you can search for all kinds of things. And it's good to shop around. It's good to find out what options are out there as far as timing is concerned. Maybe your local association doesn't meet your timing needs as far as when your license renews, or as far as the schedule. You need 2 days a week or 1 day a week, whatever it might be, like Stephen was talking about. So you can look and see what options are out there. I'll be honest with you, some of them also vary in price. And so you can look and see that. Now, that doesn't mean that just because it's cheaper that that's the best option for you. Sometimes it's good to check and see what you get out of that, because sometimes you get lunch every day and sometimes you don't because it's on Zoom. So just things to consider, when you're looking for the different options that are out there. But the find a course feature on texasrealestate.com, you can look for all GRI classes or specific instructors or whatever the case may be. There's lots of options out there.
Okay, that's good info. So let me take it just one step further, because you can take it from any local board. And now we know where we can go find all of the classes that are available. But so here's my question to you, Stephen, because you said, a lot of times my classes, they kind of they gel into like a little fraternity or a sorority, like they're just hanging out afterwards. So do you find that there are benefits, pros and cons, maybe, however you want to look at it, from I'm only taking it in my local board because maybe you get that fraternity, or maybe there's pros and cons about I don't want to take it at my local board all the time. I want to go somewhere else to meet new people. I don't know. What are your thoughts on taking it here versus there versus anywhere? I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
That's kind of a personal preference. I'm kind of looking at, a lot of people like to take, a lot of times they go with their office or something, so they want to stay together. So that could be an issue. Sometimes they don't want to travel. So that's why we also have online or hybrid options. But in my personal opinion, I'd rather go to other associations to meet other people, because that's part of real estate. Meeting other agents is just as good as prospecting with other consumers, because the more agents you know, the better off you are. And that's a good thing about going to classes. Kind of like if I was going to go GRI and I was going to start all over again, I was going to go take the class, I'd probably go down to Waco for one. I'd go try to find one down in Dallas for another one. I'd probably go down to, El Paso for another one. The reason why I'm doing that is because business grows. And the thing about it is, you can get a consumer that needs to go to, they want to move to Waco. Well, you want to have an agent there that you can give a good referral to. And you want to meet that agent. You want to know who that agent is, and you want to get to know them, because a lot of times you're going to be in class with them all day. You're going to probably have lunch with them. You're going to get to know who their personality is. You'll probably bond with them, and you're going to make a great connection going forward. And that will help your real estate career grow. The more agents you know, the better off you are. That's my personal opinion. But on the flip side of it, there are a lot of people that like to come in it together, stick to it together, the same office, or they don't want to travel, or whatever the situation is completely up to you. But for me, I suggest going to other associations, get out, mingle with other agents, and get more out of than just sitting there for the information. Get to know other areas as well, and more situations that they face as well too. Because marketing in one area might not be the same as this area. The way they do business in this area isn't the same way you do business in this area. So it also broadens your knowledge as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always talk to realtors and say, you need to be networking two ways.
Absolutely.
One inside the business and one outside the business, right?
Internal and external.
Business is your consumers. Inside the business will help you grow as a real estate professional.
Absolutely. And the more you know about areas, the better off you can grow personally as finding out different careers you want to do. I mean, in real estate, half the time, I don't even know how I ended up in half the stuff I ended up into. I mean, we can all agree with that, right? In real estate, you're like, how in the world did I end up doing this, But how you ended up doing it was because you probably met somebody, or somebody referred you to somebody that referred you to somebody else that you met somewhere else. And it just all kind of comes together. So it's also opening up other doors for your career too.
Right. Do you want to do residential? Do you want to do commercial? You want to do farm and ranch? You want to do property management? Yeah. And you know what I find interesting, because Texas is amazing. I'm a Texas girl. I love me some Texas. But you go to one part of town or one part of Texas, and it's one thing. This is the hot topic over here, where your short-term rentals are over here. But you go to another place and it might be, maybe out in West Texas, and it's all about, oil and gas rights and mineral
market.
Or you go down to the coast and it's coastal things and wind storms and just
it's very diverse when it comes to sales, especially market diversity and sales diversity. It's huge.
Yeah,
you can go from Dallas to the city right next door, and it's different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even in the DFW for sure.
Yeah.
Well, all right, so last question. Is there anything else, Jon, I'm gonna start with you, that I did not ask you that you feel like, somebody watching today needs to know this about GRI? Is there anything else you want to bring up that we didn't already cover?
That's kind of be like the hardest question. I like all the other ones better. Can we circle back to some of those?
Back at the top and go back down.
Just go back to the top. To be honest with you, I don't know if there's a question necessarily I would answer, but I do understand and recognize that it is a costly endeavor. You're investing into your business. You've already invested probably a ton of money just to even get into real estate, right? And you couldn't even practice at that time. And now there's this designation that, even though it satisfies your qualifying education or SAE requirements, it probably costs a little bit more than if you were to go take it online or at another provider somewhere. I would say that my encouragement to you is there's actually a discount coupon that's on texasrealestate.com. It does say $50 And so if you've never used it before, you can use it for your first GRI. And if you want to jump into a class to see what it's about, then that might be a great option to kind of help subsidize and alleviate the discomfort of trying to pay for a designation course. Even though we all know and we value how it's going to last a lifetime and how it's going to impact you, sometimes just the pocketbook talks. And so if you can save $50, I'd recommend doing that.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I love coupons. So great
Yeah.
job on that extra tidbit for somebody. Fabulous. All right. How about you? What else do you think, Sir Stephen? What do you think? Any other thoughts?
Well, GRI, well, not only I'm a firm believer in GRI because it's got such great information and it's a foundation for other designations. But the other good thing about GRI is this: once you get it, you don't have to keep paying monthly or yearly.
Yeah.
That's another good thing. So that kind of helps out your pocketbook a little bit.
Yeah.
Wherever you move in the nation, you can still use the GRI. So it's a national designation. And we just found out that most people know what it is, which is a plus. Another thing about GRI is the instructors, and I'm going to speak out of an instructor's mouth. We're dedicated to giving you good information, and we're dedicated to watch you grow. It's like I tell every single solitary student, don't hesitate. If you have a question, call. We're here to help. We're always here to help you grow, and we want to see you succeed. So you have a lifelong partner, meaning your instructor. You have great education coming at you that's current, that, you know, either A, through material, or B, through experience. And C, you have a great knowledge to springboard you off to whatever you want to do. GRI was my first designation when I first got out in the business, because at that time there wasn't a whole lot of designations anyway, but that was the first designation that I got. And from that point on, I've probably grown to get 20 more designations. And it was actually the first time I took GRI was the first time I opened up my eyes for opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, before I got into real estate, you take a real estate pre-licensing course, they go through, you know, well, you can do property management, you can do this, you can do that. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on, right? Like, whatever, just tell me what's on the test kind of thing. But when you get into GRI, it tells you, hey, this is, you know, there's other avenues you can take, and there's other opportunities than just where you're at today. And here's some opportunities with designations, with education to grow the direction that you want to grow. And real estate is where you take it.
Yeah.
And so that just gives you the opportunity to open your mind to take it to wherever you want to be. And I'll tell you, that's without that course, I would probably not, I would be stagnated, especially at 18 years old. I mean, come on, I had no idea what I was doing at 18. I was running around in circles pretty much like everybody else was. And so I took it when I think I was 20 or something like that. And that's when my eyes went ding, you know, here we go. Now to open up, and you just keep on moving and moving and moving, and encourage you to be a broker, of course. And you can always, you know, not just, area specializations on how to even grow your business. You know, half the time people get in there, they don't even have an idea how to grow a business. There's team opportunities, there's brokerage opportunities, there's coaching opportunities. There's so much other stuff that's available to people that they just don't even understand unless you go through a course to explain it to you, and opportunities available with others.
Yeah.
So
you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. And so, and I found out that a lot of times people really come in clueless.
Yeah.
They really do. But they leave with a light bulb on.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many people call me up later and say, man, thank you for telling me that. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I've been scared to death. I didn't know what was going on. Or, you know, hey, my broker never told me this. Or, hey, you know, when I first got into this, you know, I took an online class. I had no idea what this stuff was. All I did was practice, take the test, and off we went. And that's kind of scary. But on the flip side of it, at least there's a class there to catch that lack their knowledge and help them to expand.
It's like a fail safe, right?
There you go. There you go.
Is. Well, yeah, because you can't get your real estate education from HGTV, just saying.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Saying.
And so, and I can't tell you how many people's confidence level goes up.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, knowledge is confidence. The more
Yeah.
confidence you have, the more knowledge you got, the more you're going to go out and make business.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah, it helps you know what to do and what to say. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I super appreciate the both of you spending some time with me today and just chatting about GRI. It's such an important topic. real estate education, continuing education, also such an important topic. It's good for the realtors. It's good for the consumers. I would love to have you back another time. We'll do the same thing again, and we'll chat about some other topic that has to do with education. How does that sound? Y'all want to come back and do it again?
Yeah, absolutely. This was fun.
Absolutely.
All
All day,
right.
every day.
Well, there you go. Well, I appreciate you guys very, very much for all of the great information, and we will see you guys on the next Facebook Live.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.